Item 461. Structural plate structures. 1. Description. Furnish and install structural plate pipes, pipe arches, underpasses, box culverts, and special shapes. 2. Materials. 2.1 General. Furnish materials in accordance with the following. Item 420, Concrete substructures. Item 421, Hydraulic cement concrete. Item 440, Reinforcement for concrete. Item 442, Metal for structures. Item 445, Galvanizing, and Item 447, Structural bolting. Provide galvanized steel plates conforming to TxDOT M167. Provide aluminum plates conforming to TxDOT M219. Use Class C concrete for footings unless otherwise shown on the plans. Fabrication. Use structural units of corrugated galvanized metal for steel plates. Furnish single plates in standard sizes to permit structure length increments of 2 feet. Provide plates with an approximate 2 inches lip beyond each end crest. Design and construct footings for arches to accommodate this additional length. Fabricate galvanized steel inverts, toe walls, footings, and closure plates when required in accordance with the requirements for the galvanized steel structural plate structure. Use structural units of corrugated aluminum alloy for aluminum plates. Furnish cut plates on structure ends to permit structure length increments of 1 feet for aluminum alloy structures. Provide plates with an approximate 2 inches lip beyond each end crest. Design and construct footings for arches to accommodate this additional length. Fabricate aluminum alloy inverts, toe walls, footings, and closure plates in accordance with the requirements for the aluminum structural plate structure when required. Form plates to provide bolted lap joints. Punch bolt holes so all plates with like dimensions, curvature, and number of bolts per foot of seam will be interchangeable. Curve each plate to the proper radius to provide cross-sectional dimensions of the finished structure as shown on the plans. Stagger joints so no more than 3 plates are joined at any one point. Provide bolt holes along the edges of the plates, unless otherwise specified, that will form longitudinal seams in the finished structure as follows. Stagger holes in rows 2 inches apart, with 1 row in the valley and 1 on the crest of the corrugations and at least 4 bolts per foot for galvanized steel structures. Provide holes in rows 1 3/4 inches apart with 2 bolts in each valley and on each crest and at least 16 bolts per 3 feet for aluminum alloy structures. Provide bolt holes at a maximum spacing of 12 inches along the edges of the plates that will form circumferential seams in the finished structure. Ensure a minimum distance from center of hole to edge of plate of at least 1 3/4 times the diameter of the bolt. Provide bolt holes in the longitudinal seams with a hole diameter that does not exceed the diameter of the bolt by more than 1/8 inches. Finish burned edges so they are galvanized and free from oxide and burrs and present a satisfactory appearance. Place legible identification marks on each plate to designate its proper position in the finished structure. Furnish an itemized statement of the number and size of plates in each shipment and furnish erection drawings showing the position of the plates in the structure. Furnish copies of mill test reports for the base metal. Provide samples of the plates in accordance with Text 708I, when directed. Provide metal head walls that comply with the details shown on the plans. 2.2 Design. The gauge or minimum thickness and permissible corrugations of metal plates to be furnished for each structure will be shown on the plans. 3. Construction. 3.1 Designation of type. The type of structure will be indicated on the plans by the following descriptions. Structure type, structural plate pipe, structural plate pipe arch, structural plate arch, structural plate underpass, or structural plate box culvert. Type of material, galvanized steel or aluminum. Structure size, diameter or horizontal and vertical dimensions. When the type of material is not specified, either galvanized steel or aluminum. 3.2 Foundations. Construct substructure for structural plate arches as shown on the plans. Form and finish footings to established true lines and grades. Set anchors or box culvert slots to true line and grade when placing concrete for each substructure unit. Place substructure units in accordance with item 420, concrete substructures, and item 440, reinforcement for concrete. Place footings entirely on hard materials such as rock or shale or on firm soil or compacted soil cushion. Undercut and replace rock with a minimum 12 inches thick compacted soil cushion when only a portion of the founding area is rock. Remove the soil when a thin layer is partially covering rock within the bearing area and place the footings directly on rock in accordance with details shown on the plans. 3.3 Erection. Coat any steel in joints not protected by galvanizing with suitable asphalt paint. Handle pipes and plates carefully to avoid damage to any protective coating. Provide hot-dip galvanized anchor bolts with a minimum 3/4 inches diameter and 6 inches length spaced at maximum 19 inches centers for anchoring plates to head walls or other concrete end treatment. Place plates for arch structures after the substructure has cured a minimum of 3 days. Insert all bolts not already in place when all plates are in position, and tighten all nuts progressively and uniformly, beginning at one end of the structure. Tighten all nuts a second time to a torque between 150 and 300 feet-pounds for steel bolts and between 100 and 150 feet-pounds for aluminum bolts. Check at least 20% of the bolts with a torque wrench when using an impact wrench. Replace all service bolts used in drawing the plates together with standard bolts. The tolerance for span and rise during erection is 2% of design measurements or 5 inches, whichever is less. 3.4 Workmanship. Repair minor damage to galvanized coating in accordance with section 445.3.5, repairs. All other structural plates on which the galvanized coating has been damaged or that show defective workmanship will be rejected. This requirement applies not only to the individual plates but also to the shipment as a whole. The presence of any of the following defects will be cause for rejection. Uneven lapse. Elliptical shape, unless specified. Variation from a straight line. Ragged edges. Loose bolts. Uneven bolt lines or spacing. Illegible brand. Bruised, scaled, or broken galvanized coating, or dents or bends in the metal. 3.5 Excavation and backfill. Excavate and backfill or construct the embankment around and over the structural plate structure in accordance with item 400, excavation and backfill for structures, except as modified in this section. Furnish acceptable devices for monitoring the horizontal and vertical shape of the structure. The tolerance for span and rise during backfilling operations is 2% of design measurements or 5 inches, whichever is less. For arches, except pipe arches, if the head walls are built after backfilling the arch, place the first material midway between the ends of the arch, forming as narrow a ramp as possible until the top of the arch is reached. Construct the ramp evenly from both sides, and thoroughly compact the backfill as it is placed. Deposit the remainder of the backfill from the top of the arch both ways from the center to the ends and as evenly as possible on both sides of the arch after constructing the 2 ramps to the top of the arch. If the head walls are built before backfilling the arch, place the fill material first adjacent to one head wall until the top of the arch has been reached and then from the top of the arch toward the other head wall. Deposit the material evenly on both sides of the arch. Perform the same backfill phases for all structures more or less simultaneously. Do not drop backfill from such a height or concentrate it in such an amount before distribution over the top arch that it will damage the flexible structure. Compact this backfill with hand-operated tamps or other acceptable equipment. Use only hand-operated, mechanical tamping equipment within vertical planes 2 feet beyond the horizontal limits of the structure until a minimum of 2 feet of cover has been compacted over the structure. Ensure all large construction equipment is kept a minimum of 3 feet from the center of the span to prevent local deformations of the plates due to concentrated loads. Do not use heavy earth-moving equipment over the structure until a minimum of 4 feet of permanent or temporary compacted fill has been placed over the structure unless otherwise shown on the plans or permitted in writing. Check with the structure manufacturer before crossing the structure with any construction equipment with a 75,000 pounds or greater single axle load. Additional cover beyond 4 feet may be required to accommodate these vehicles. Remove and replace damaged plates or structures at no expense to the department. Inspect the inside periphery of the structure for local or unequal deformation caused by improper construction methods before adding each new layer of loose backfill material. Continue inspections until a minimum of 24 inches of cover is obtained. Evidence of such deformation will be reason for corrective measures as directed. For measurement. Structural plate pipes, pipe arches, underpasses, and box culverts will be measured by the foot. Measurement will be made between the ends of the barrel along the flow line, not including safety end treatments. Safety end treatments will be measured in accordance with item 467, safety end treatment. For multiple structures, the measured length will be the sum of the lengths of the barrels. This is a plan's quantity measurement item. The quantity to be paid is the quantity shown in the proposal unless modified by Article 9.2, Plan's quantity measurement. Additional measurements or calculations will be made if adjustments of quantities are required. 5. Payment. The work performed and materials furnished in accordance with this item and measured as provided under measurement will be paid for at the price bid for structural plate pipes, structural plate pipe arches, structural plate underpasses, and structural plate box culverts of the size, gauge or minimum thickness, and material specified. This price is full compensation for furnishing, transporting, and erecting the structural plate structures, bolts, nuts, washers, anchor bolts, and anchor channels or angles, aluminum alloy inverts, toe walls, footings, closure plates, and stiffeners, and equipment, labor, tools, and incidentals. Inverts, toe walls, footings, closure plates, elbows, skewed sections, and stiffeners will not be paid for directly but are subsidiary to this item. Protection methods for excavations greater than 5 feet in depth will be measured and paid for as required under item 402, trench excavation protection, or item 403, temporary special shoring. Excavation, shaping, bedding, and backfill will be paid for in accordance with item 400, excavation and backfill for structures.